Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to uncover a powerful truth that many of us have experienced, but few understand. Why do they always come back after you go no contact? If you've ever found yourself caught in that confusing, heart-wrenching cycle of a connection that seemed so magnetic, only to fade into silence, then you know the emotional toll it can take. Maybe someone who once meant everything to you now feels like nothing more than a distant memory. You gave them your time, your emotions, and even pieces of your very identity, but in the end, you were left in the dark, questioning if you ever truly mattered at all. Now, here you are, either already in or thinking about entering the no-contact phase, wondering, does this really work? Will they ever come back? And if they do, what triggers that shift? The uncertainty can be overwhelming, and you deserve answers. Here's the truth, and it's something that many get wrong. No contact isn't just about disappearing into the background and hoping for some miraculous outcome. It's far more profound and rooted in psychology. If anyone tells you to simply vanish and wait for them to return, they're selling you a myth. No contact is a mental reset, a reset for both them and for you. It's not about playing games or waiting for the other person to come crawling back. It's about regaining control over your own mind and emotions. Think about this. When someone walks away, they take up precious space in your mind, like an uninvited guest who refuses to leave. It's not just about cutting them off. It's about reclaiming that space, rebuilding yourself into a stronger, more resilient version of who you were meant to be. And when you leave that void behind, they'll feel it, trust me. They'll feel it. They'll be forced to reckon with the absence of something they once took for granted. Today, we're going to break down why no contact works from a deep psychological standpoint. We'll look at what makes someone reconsider their decisions and the critical mistakes you could make that would sabotage the entire process. If you're ready to learn about the hidden dynamics that make them come back, keep watching and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscribe helps spread this valuable information to more people out there searching for answers. So let's dive in. Let's get real for a second. Before we jump into the 8 reasons why they come back, we need to talk about the psychology behind it. Human behavior isn't straightforward. It's a complex web of emotions, memories, and subconscious triggers. But here's the good news. When no contact is done right, it can completely change the game. It's not just about disappearing. It's about resetting the entire dynamic, making your absence so noticeable that they can't ignore it. The biggest challenge you'll face along the way, fear. Fear will sneak in and tell you lies. You're wasting your time. They've already forgotten you. They've moved on. If you let fear control you, it will paralyze you. But here's the cold, hard truth. Fear is nothing but a phantom. It only holds power if you allow it to. The moment you take control of the situation, you break free from its grip. Let's tackle a dangerous myth head on. Showing up all the time doesn't guarantee your place in someone's life. True worth doesn't beg for attention, it demands it through silence. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is step back and create a void so deep that it forces the other person to question what they've lost. It's like air, you only notice it when you can't breathe. Here's something for you to think about. People only begin to value what they fear losing. If something is always there, they'll take it for granted. But when it's gone, when you step back and create that space, the void becomes impossible to ignore. That's when they realize what they've been missing. It's like your favorite song. You play it over and over until you get tired of it, right? But the moment it's gone, you suddenly crave it with an intensity you didn't expect. That's the power of no contact. It makes them miss you, even if they didn't realize they would. Now, let's shatter another misconception. No contact isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm not an option. You either show up or miss out. It's not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming your worth. When you step away, you're silently telling them that you are whole on your own, that your presence has value, and they can either recognize that or live without it. If they return, it's because they finally understood what they lost. When you remove yourself, you're telling them, without saying a word, I am complete on my own. I don't need anyone to define my worth. Let them struggle with the silence. Let them wrestle with the feeling of your absence, like a ghost they can't shake off. If they come back, it's because they couldn't ignore the truth of your value anymore. And if they don't, consider that a blessing. You've just dodged someone who couldn't appreciate you when it mattered most. You're better off moving on without them. So, are you ready to unlock this hidden power for yourself? Let's dive deeper into the psychology of no contact and understand exactly why it works and what you need to do to make it truly effective. Stay tuned. Either way, you come out on top. Because no contact isn't about them, it's all about you. It's about reclaiming your power, rising from the ashes, becoming untouchable, and unapologetically you. This is your moment, your transformation, and it's time to own it. Take a second and affirm this now. My presence is a gift. Say it out loud, feel it in your soul, and let it resonate deep within you. Write it in the comments below. Declare it with conviction, because this isn't just a phrase, it's a reminder of your worth. Your future is shaped by what you believe about yourself. And today, you're claiming your value, because it does depend on it. Now, warriors, with that mindset fortified, it's time to dig deeper. We're about to uncover the real reasons they come crawling back. Brace yourselves, because this is raw, unfiltered truth. Number 1, they see you thriving without them. The first reason they come back? It's simple, yet as unavoidable as gravity. They see you thriving without them. This isn't a game. It's about taking back your life, fueled by determination and purpose. When they witness the void they've left behind, they can't help but feel the sting. They'll watch as you bloom into someone they never expected, and that's when the regret hits hard. Picture it. You're no longer the person waiting in the shadows for their return. You've transformed into a force of nature, unstoppable, unpredictable, magnetic. They thought you'd always be there, waiting, frozen in time, desperate for their attention. But you shattered that illusion. You're no longer a memory. You're a wildfire they can't contain, can't ignore. Now imagine them scrolling through their feed, watching your life unfold, a life they thought they could leave behind. You're thriving, happy, surrounded by people who uplift and fuel your growth. You've become the plot twist in their story, the one they never saw coming. And suddenly the script flips, leaving them haunted by what could have been. We've all heard it before. Success is the best revenge. But here's the thing, it's not about revenge. It's about resurrection. You're rising stronger, like a phoenix from the ashes of what they once knew. Each achievement, every joy-filled moment, is a testament to your limitless potential, even without them in the picture. You may be asking, how can I thrive after they left me broken? The answer is simple. Ignite that fire within yourself. Dive into the dreams you've set aside, the passions you put on pause. Build a life that shouts, "I'm unstoppable." Your progress becomes the echo they can't escape. Surround yourself with people whose energy elevates yours. Every smile shared, every victory won, becomes undeniable proof that you're not just surviving, you're soaring. You're creating a world where their absence doesn't matter. Self-care? It's not just about physical appearance, it's a revolution of the soul. Train, like you're preparing to battle destiny. Nourish your body and mind like greatness depends on it, because it does. Confidence born from true self-love radiates in a way they can't ignore. Live like every moment is a rebellion against mediocrity. Explore, create, expand. Evolve into someone unrecognizable, even to yourself. Your transformation will hit them harder than anything you could say. When you live with unstoppable purpose, regret becomes their shadow. They'll wonder, how could I have let someone like that slip away? You've become a dream they can't return to, a memory sharp enough to cut through their denial. Your transformation doesn't scream for attention, it demands it. As Paulo Coelho once said, when you are happy with yourself, you are a reflection of what they want, but cannot find. Your happiness is the lighthouse they're drawn to, but it's a light they'll never reach. You might still wonder, is moving on without them just giving up? Absolutely not. Moving on is choosing you. It's proving to yourself that you are your greatest asset, your fiercest ally. It's showing the world and them that you don't need anyone to complete you. So rise unapologetically, burn brighter, fly higher, live louder. Don't wait for recognition become undeniable. When they finally realize what they've lost, it will be too late. And never forget today's affirmation, my presence is a gift. Live it, own it, and let it blaze a trail for others to follow. When you believe it, the universe has no choice but to follow your lead. Number 2, the fear of replacement. The second reason they come crawling back? It's driven by a primal, deep-seated fear, the fear of replacement. This isn't a casual worry. It's an overwhelming, storm-like wave of jealousy and regret that crashes over them when they realize someone else might be taking the place they once held in your heart. They never thought anyone else could ever compare to them. But then they see someone else, someone new, taking up space in your life. They begin to feel the jealousy creep in, wondering, what if I've been replaced? This fear doesn't just linger, it's a constant, gnawing reminder that they've lost their place in your world, and that void is being filled by someone else. At that moment, something shifts within them. The reality of what they lost hits them in a way that words never could. And just like that, the chase begins. But by then, you've already moved on. Your life has evolved, and you've become someone they can no longer claim. So, warriors, keep thriving, keep shining, keep becoming the unstoppable force they never expected. And when they finally recognize your worth, it will be too late. Suddenly, the door they thought would always be open is slammed shut, and on the other side stands someone new, someone who might just see your worth in ways they never did. Imagine this. They once felt safe, knowing that you were always there, your loyalty unwavering, your affection constant. They took it all for granted, sure that they could always return to your embrace whenever they pleased. But now, reality hits them like a ton of bricks. Someone else could walk into your life, see the beauty of your soul, value you in ways they never did, and treat you with the respect they thought was theirs by default. That thought? It becomes a nightmare that haunts them relentlessly. Human nature is fascinating, isn't it? We hold on to what we fear losing. This psychological phenomenon, known as loss aversion, means that people experience far more pain from losing something they took for granted than from gaining something new. The moment they realize you're no longer waiting in that emotional limbo for their attention, no longer putting your life on pause, they begin to panic. The worst part, you don't have to make a single move or post those moving on photos for this fear to ignite. All it takes is for them to sense that you're emotionally free, exploring new connections, and creating a life beyond their reach. And just like that, the fear of being replaced strikes like lightning, unstoppable and terrifying. Picture this. They start imagining you sharing laughter, time, and intimate moments with someone else, building a life that doesn't involve them at all. It's a gut-wrenching thought, and it becomes even more real when you're thriving in ways they never expected. Here's a real example shared on a popular relationship forum. I always thought she'd be there, but when I saw her smiling with someone else, I couldn't breathe. She wasn't just moving on, she was genuinely happy. That's when I knew I'd lost something irreplaceable. Now, you might be thinking, but if they didn't want me before, why would they care now? Here's the painful truth. People are often haunted by what they can't have. They didn't value you when they had you, but the second they see someone else receiving the love, devotion, and energy they took for granted, it triggers an inner crisis. It's like watching a masterpiece they ignored suddenly become the centerpiece of someone else's world. How do you trigger this realization without manipulation? By genuinely focusing on yourself, building a life filled with joy, passion, and purpose. When you're focused on your growth, your exploration, and your new connections, you send a powerful message without uttering a word. You are not waiting for them. You are evolving. Picture them scrolling through their feed, seeing you glow with positivity, surrounded by people who uplift you, and engaging in activities that fuel your passion. You've become magnetic in ways they never anticipated. They can't ignore the force of your newfound freedom. It draws them in, even from a distance. This isn't about making them jealous. It's about becoming someone so vibrant, so alive, that they can't not notice. Self-care isn't just a routine, it's your quiet revolution. Nourish your body, sharpen your mind, and feed your soul like your future depends on it, because it does. Confidence rooted in self-love is a power they'll feel, even if they're miles away. Live boldly. Take risks, learn new skills, travel, create. Expand your horizons until you become unrecognizable even to yourself. Every step you take forward echoes louder than words could ever do. Your transformation becomes the story they replay in their minds, with regret as their constant companion. When they realize that you're thriving and living your best life, the fear of being replaced kicks into overdrive. They start imagining someone else laughing with you, celebrating your wins, and building the life they thought they'd be a part of forever. They begin to see you moving on in ways they never expected. Suddenly, they're no longer driven by what they had. They're tormented by what they could have had. They're no longer fueled by a sense of entitlement. They're overwhelmed by the crushing reality that they've lost you. As Paulo Coelho beautifully said, when you are happy with yourself, you are a reflection of what they want but cannot find. Your happiness becomes the lighthouse that guides them back, but they can never reach you. It's a painful reminder of what they let slip through their fingers. So you might still wonder, is moving on just giving up? No. Moving on is choosing yourself in a world that never truly valued you. It's about becoming your fiercest ally, your strongest supporter, your own safe haven. It's proving to them and to yourself that you are your greatest asset, your most invaluable treasure. So rise fiercely, live unapologetically. Create a life so fulfilling, so radiant, that even their deepest fears couldn't have imagined it. And when they finally realize what they've lost, it will be too late. You'll be too far ahead. Don't forget today's affirmation. My presence is a gift. Believe it. Live it. Let it guide you forward as you grow into the most unstoppable version of yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments below. Let it be your declaration of worth, because they might fear being replaced, but you're already living your best life, with or without them. Number 3. When pride falls, the ego's final battle. The third reason they come crawling back is as old as time itself, the ego trigger. This isn't about love or longing. It's about a deep, almost primal need to reclaim power. When you go no contact, you strike directly at their sense of dominance, forcing them to face the uncomfortable truth. They no longer have control over your life. They may have walked away, thinking they could keep your heart in a tight grip, convinced you would wait for their return. But your silence, that silence is the sharpest weapon. It shatters their illusion and makes them realize that you've moved on, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Picture this. For so long they lived comfortably, wrapped in the belief that they were the center of your universe. They thought they could walk away and return whenever they pleased, knowing that you'd still be there, emotionally chained to them. But when you step back, when you cut the emotional cord with your absence, it's like pulling the rug out from under them. The silence between you two isn't just quiet, it's deafening. It says more than any confrontation could ever do. I'm free. I'm not waiting anymore. For someone who's used to holding that emotional power, realizing they no longer occupy that central place in your heart is devastating. It's not about missing you, it's about losing their perceived power. This abrupt disruption forces them into a battle with their own identity. They question everything who they thought they were, who you thought they were, and where their sense of control went. And that internal crisis, it's hard to ignore. Number 4. When memories haunt, the power of the nostalgia effect. The fourth reason they come crawling back is something so deeply human, it's practically unavoidable. The nostalgia effect. This isn't just a fleeting sense of longing. It's the quiet ache that starts to surface when memories refuse to fade. When you go no contact, you create an emotional void in their life. That emptiness becomes a space where their mind will inevitably replay the best moments, the laughter, the quiet talks, the small, intimate rituals that once defined your bond. Absence has an almost magical ability to amplify the past, turning simple moments into cherished memories that stand out like beacons. It's in our nature to romanticize what we can no longer have. Over time, our minds polish the golden moments, smoothing over the rough edges of past conflicts, making everything seem brighter and more beautiful than it actually was. This process, known as rosy retrospection, is something we all experience to some extent. Your absence fuels this, turning what they once took for granted into something they now desperately wish they could relive. Think of it like an old song. When it's played too often, it fades into the background, becoming just another part of the noise. But after a period of silence, hearing it again can trigger an overwhelming flood of emotions. The same happens with your absence. The silence makes the melody of your memories louder, clearer, and far more powerful. They'll find themselves recalling how you made them feel, how you made them laugh, how you stayed up late just to listen to their worries, how you made them feel seen and understood. Suddenly, the present moment feels empty, colder, as if something essential is missing. Some might wonder, but what about the bad times? That's the magic of nostalgia. It doesn't care. It edits away the struggles, trims the painful moments, and highlights the beauty. The past, in all its imperfections, becomes a shimmering memory that they long for. Consider this heartfelt confession from an online forum. I thought I'd moved on, but then I remembered how she'd laugh at my dumbest jokes, how she'd stay up late just to talk. It hit me that I've never felt that close to anyone since. That feeling isn't just about missing the person, it's about missing how they made you feel. It's the warmth of being valued, the joy of being deeply understood, that creates an emotional pull that's impossible to ignore. You might still wonder, isn't nostalgia just wishful thinking? Yes, but it's a powerful force. It has the ability to reshape how they view the entire relationship. In the stillness of your absence, memories become daydreams, vivid and rich with emotion. They may start to search for a way back, longing for a connection they once thought they could easily let go of. And here's your reminder today. My presence is a gift. You created memories worth cherishing, and in your absence, those memories shine even brighter. Declare this affirmation boldly, not for them, but for yourself. You've become an unforgettable chapter in their story, one that will continue to echo long after they thought they'd moved on. Number 5. When reality hits the illusion of loss. The fifth reason they come crawling back is rooted in something deeply psychological. The illusion of loss. When you go no contact, you create a powerful, gaping void that they're not prepared for. That sudden absence triggers an emotional response that convinces them they may have lost you forever, even if they were the ones who walked away. The truth is, the absence of someone who once held a pivotal role in their life is far more jarring than they ever expected. Imagine this. It's like misplacing a valuable item you use every day, but never truly valued. Maybe it's something small, like a key, or something bigger, like your favorite jacket. You never really thought about it until it's gone, and suddenly, panic sets in. You retrace your steps, frantically trying to find it, overwhelmed by a sense of regret and loss. This is exactly how they feel when you go no contact. Your absence has a profound impact, creating a void in their life they never anticipated. They begin replaying every moment they shared with you, asking themselves, where did I go wrong? And with each passing day, their desperation grows, urging them to get back what they believe they've lost. But here's the twist. Loss aversion. A psychological principle shows that humans experience more pain from losing something they think they can't have than from gaining something new. And right now, your absence is the perfect trigger for this phenomenon. They begin to feel a deep emotional sting, unable to ignore the reality that you, the very person they took for granted, are no longer in their life. It forces them to question everything, especially the decision they made to walk away. Consider this real-life confession from an online forum. I thought I'd be fine after breaking up with her, but when I saw her living her best life without me, it felt like my world crumbled. I didn't expect to miss her this much. This isn't just about losing you, it's about the realization that they lost the emotional safety, the shared memories, and the comfort of knowing you were there. They underestimated the significance of your presence, but now it stings in ways they can't deny. And you might be thinking, but didn't they choose to let me go? Yes, they did. But when you make a choice from a place of comfort, it's easy to overlook the emotional weight of that decision. When reality finally strikes, though, the comfort fades and the loss becomes unbearable. The regret that follows starts rewriting the story they told themselves about you. Suddenly, they realize just how important you were to their life. It's not just about the relationship, it's the everyday presence. The subtle yet constant care you gave, the sense of home you brought into their world. This realization hits them harder than anything they could have imagined. The fear of losing you, of truly losing what they took for granted, becomes a force they can't ignore. They start to feel like they've let go of something irreplaceable, and that understanding drives them back with an urgency they can't suppress. Let's think about it this way. Imagine living in a cozy home, comfortable and familiar, where every room holds a memory. You may not think much of it day to day, but when a sudden fire burns it down, you're left standing outside, staring at the empty lot, questioning what you lost. That's the same feeling they get when you go no contact. It's not about regret for leaving you. Might have been better for them than they realized. It's about the crushing realization that they've lost something, and the hole it leaves behind is far bigger than they ever prepared for. And here's today's affirmation. My presence is a gift. When you go no contact, you show them something critical they can no longer take you for granted. Your presence was never a guarantee. It was a privilege. Let that absence speak louder than words ever could. Let it drive them to the realization that your worth doesn't depend on their recognition, but on your own value and power. Keep living boldly, growing, evolving, and thriving. And when they finally realize what they've lost, you'll already be living the life they wish they could have been part of. They wake up to a life that feels incomplete, hollow, even an existence devoid of the comfort, stability, and warmth that you once brought into their world. Every quiet moment becomes a painful reminder of what they've lost. They feel the absence of your laughter, the void left by your caring words, and the heavy silence where once there was connection. This realization doesn't come in a slow trickle. It strikes like an emotional wave, sudden, overwhelming, and all-consuming. They remember how you were always there, listening without judgment, offering support without question, lighting up their world in ways they never truly understood at the time. And now, with you gone, that world feels colder, darker, and emptier. The thought that someone else might now be receiving the same devotion, the same unwavering love, the same loyalty can be especially haunting. You might wonder, why didn't they appreciate me when I was right there in front of them? The answer? It's as frustrating as it is universal. People tend to take what feels constant and dependable for granted. They assume that love and kindness will always be available until, suddenly, it's no longer there. They might have believed you would always be the one to pick up the pieces, the one to stand by them without question. But now, they're forced to face the painful truth that nothing in life is as certain as they once thought. By stepping away, you've done something profound. You've forced them to confront the stark reality of your absence and what it means for them. You've made them see the depth of what they lost, the value of what you offered, the rarity of your presence, the warmth of your unconditional love. Consider this raw confession shared in a relationship forum. I thought she'd always be there, but when she left, I realized she was the only one who ever truly cared. I never thought I'd miss her this much. It's not just about missing you. It's about realizing that what you brought to their life was irreplaceable. They finally understood that the patience, the compassion, the loyalty you gave weren't things to be taken for granted. They were things to be cherished. They may have once thought they could find someone else who would offer them the same care, the same devotion. But now, with you gone, they know deep in their hearts that no one could ever replace what you brought into their life. As time passes, they realize the truth. The love you gave wasn't something they could take for granted. It was something precious, unique, and rare. They may even ask themselves, "Isn't it too late for me to realize this?" And while it may indeed be too late to turn back the clock, that doesn't make the weight of their realization any less heavy. Regret has a funny way of showing up when it's already too late to undo what's been broken. The fear of never experiencing your presence again, the thought of never having someone like you in their life again, becomes an overwhelming force. It's a silent ache, one that creeps into every thought, every moment, as they replay the past and wonder what they could have done differently. Today's affirmation: my presence is a gift. You were never meant to be an endless well of love to be tapped whenever they saw fit. Your love was never a guarantee, it was a privilege. Let your absence remind them of this truth. And while they may sit with the weight of their regret, you continue building a life where your worth is recognized not just by them, but by you. You are enough, and you deserve to be valued in ways they never saw. Number 7, when strength speaks. Setting boundaries and respecting yourself. The 7th reason they often come back isn't about them missing you, as much as it is about them finally seeing you respect yourself and set boundaries. Going no contact isn't just about removing your presence, it's about sending a clear, unspoken message. I value myself enough to walk away from what no longer serves me. This shift, this refusal to accept less than you deserve, becomes a wake-up call they never saw coming. It's a jarring reality, especially if they were accustomed to having you always at their beck and call, always available to meet their needs. The moment you decide to step back, to create that emotional space, you change the game. Suddenly, you're not within reach anymore, and that shift forces them to confront the reality of what they've taken for granted. Before no contact, they may have been confident that you'd always answer their calls, return their texts, or make yourself available on their terms. They assumed your presence was a given no matter how they treated you, no matter how often they took your love for granted. But now, the rules have changed. You've stepped away, you've chosen yourself, you've drawn a line in the sand. The narrative has shifted, and you're no longer playing by their script, you've written your own. Imagine someone who has always been used to eating junk food every day. They never really thought much of it. They didn't see the harm, but one day, they decide to stop. Cold turkey. Suddenly, their body craves those unhealthy foods. They feel the withdrawal. That's what it's like when you go no contact. You've taken away the easy, comfortable option of always being there on demand. They can no longer take your presence for granted, and that leaves them in a space of uncertainty. The discomfort they feel is a direct result of you respecting yourself and setting a boundary they can't ignore. Your decision to prioritize your own well-being and self-respect doesn't just send them a message, it's a declaration of your worth. When they realize they no longer have unlimited access to you, the truth hits them. They've been treating you as an afterthought, and now they're learning the hard way just how costly that mistake is. The shift isn't just emotional, it's powerful. You've changed the rules, and now they're forced to reckon with the consequences. This sudden shift isn't just a change, it's a wake-up call, one that forces them to face an undeniable truth. You're no longer the person they once thought you were, the person they could take for granted, the one who would always be there, waiting to be chosen or validated. No longer. You've made the bold choice to put yourself first, and that choice is one they can't simply brush off. It's a harsh reality they can't ignore. You've chosen yourself, and now they're forced to see you in a completely different light. Setting boundaries isn't about bitterness or revenge, far from it. It's about honoring yourself, respecting your worth. and demanding that others do the same. You're no longer willing to allow your energy to be drained by those who don't appreciate you. Instead, you protect your peace, reserving your time and attention for those who value what you bring to the table. This isn't just self-care. It's a powerful declaration of your strength and your worth. People are naturally drawn to that kind of self-assurance. Confidence is magnetic, and when you stand firm in your boundaries, you become an irresistible force, one that commands respect. They may start to question their actions. Why did I ever think they'd keep accepting less than they deserved? And in that moment of introspection, a powerful realization begins to take shape. They've lost someone who was always willing to give, but only when treated with the respect they deserved. The very love and support they once took for granted has slipped away, and now they're faced with the consequences of their complacency. Imagine the shock of someone who's always had a reliable stream of water, never once considering the possibility of it running dry. They assumed it would always be there until one day the well is empty. The comfort they once had is gone. The care, the loyalty, the emotional stability that was once a constant in their life has vanished, and suddenly they find themselves craving what they once dismissed as guaranteed. Consider this raw confession from an online forum. I never thought she'd actually leave. She was always there, no matter what. When she walked away, I realized she wasn't mine to keep. She was someone who chose to care, and I lost that privilege. The person they thought would always stick around is gone, and now they're left grappling with the reality that your presence was never guaranteed. It was something you chose to offer, and now that they've taken it for granted, they've lost the privilege of having it in their lives. Setting boundaries doesn't just create space, it forces them to confront their own behavior. Suddenly, you're not someone they can access on demand. You've raised your standards, and now they must meet them if they want to have a place in your life. The dynamic has completely shifted, and what they once thought was a given is now a privilege they can no longer take for granted. Today's affirmation: my presence is a gift. By respecting yourself and setting firm boundaries, you're not just reminding others of your value. You're reminding yourself that your time, your energy, and your love are worth protecting. You are not defined by their choices. You are defined by your own self-worth, and that's a truth that no one can take from you. Let this affirmation become your mantra, guiding you as you continue to build a life filled with respect, love, and genuine connection. As we close today's video, remember this: your value doesn't depend on anyone else's recognition. It comes from within. The power of no contact lies not just in the physical distance it creates, but in the emotional space it gives you to rediscover your own worth. By understanding these psychological triggers, you're taking back control of your emotional well-being. You're stepping into a life where respect isn't negotiable, love isn't conditional, and genuine connections are the only kind of relationships worth nurturing. If this video spoke to you, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives into human psychology and relationships. Remember today's affirmation: my presence is a gift. Drop it in the comments below as your declaration of self-worth. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay empowered, and never forget your worth. See you in the next video.